Today we're talking about Next Exit, which is a Blackley comic modern ghost story about loss, love and self-discovery. So, Sean Vickers is here. My name is Phil. Hello, we are Boys on Film, and we are talking about Next Exit. Sean, do you want to do the thang and tell us what it's about? I don't know why I said thang, by the way.
Thang. Welcome back to the 90s. Cowabunga. It starts in a really interesting way, and I will talk about this more in the review, because the start has triggered people. So it starts, and this is no spoiler, with a young boy on camera who's having a conversation with the ghost of his dead father. And the video gets verified, and everyone says, oh gosh, it's real, there is an afterlife. And the story follows the premise of scientists, and scientists being Dr. Stevenson, played by Karen Gillan, asking people to cross over and to die as part of an experiment to start to make a connection between the living and the afterlife. So the whole thing is like, if you volunteer for this program, you will be like a pioneer. You'll be going across into the afterlife, but we are going to be tracking you so that we can try and find the connection between life and death. And that really is the premise of the story behind Rose and Teddy, who both, for their own personal reasons, decide to opt for this approach and to cross over into the afterlife.
So I think, to begin with, initially, that idea is quite an interesting concept, isn't it? It's quite a good story. When you think about it, you think, if you're writing that down on paper, in the board meeting, they must have thought, wow, this is going to make a great movie. Okay, so the first big problem for me is the conflicting moods. I don't know whether you got this at all, but for me it was a mixture of kind of quirky comedy, like a black comedy edge, which felt quite extreme with the subject matter and the story. And then it flipped from being that to really moody, atmospheric and quite depressing. But I guess with that storyline, it has to be. That wasn't the problem for me. It was just the way it flip-flopped from mood to mood.
Yeah, I mean, Rose, who's played by Kate Parker, and Teddy, who's played by Rahul Kholi, they're both a bit sardonic. They're both a bit sarcastic. They have a kind of banter with each other. They meet at like a car rental place, and they're both going to the same place. And so they have an energy between each other, which is playful, you know, a little silly and a little stupid. And then it's like peeling the onion. Both have got baggage and history that they're living with and trying to deal with, and that's the reason why they want to pass over. I'm not going to go into that because it's the spoilers. But what you fundamentally get, with the exception of the first 5 minutes and the last 10 minutes, is a road movie.
Which we love.
Which we love, a road movie, right? So you have a road movie around Rose and Teddy trying to get to this establishment to pass over. There's then these kind of like narratives that are running that are saying the government's going to shut it down, so if you don't do it by this time, it's not going to happen. And then between Rose and Teddy, they unpack each other's story on the road movie about why they're doing what they're doing. So yes, I think it's got different speeds, you're right. There's a kind of like black comedy's a bit of a reach, but there's a humorous kind of sarcastic element to the two characters. There's their trauma, and then it's all in this kind of wrapped up in a bow around this idea, which is sci-fi. You know, I think I've seen some of the reviews where people get a bit like, it's not sci-fi, and I would be like, you need to step away from thinking sci-fi is Star Trek, love. Yeah. So you're right, the premise, imagine someone's just sat at Chateau Marmont with a notepad going, that's brilliant, that's a great idea. There is a bit of trading standards around whether that really follows through as an idea. But what you do have is a cracking road movie. I think you have to... It swings and roundabouts is this one for me.
It's a mix of styles and it's a mix of ideas, and I think there isn't really so much a gradual process when it comes to how they are treating each other either, because at first they're so spiky and so kind of, you know, he's got a kind of childlike element to him. He's still a bit of a kid at heart, and he does behave like a kid. There's a moment where he gets in the car and she's like, oh, can you put the aircon on or wind the window down because it smells really smoky in here. And he's kind of pretending that he doesn't smoke, but he does. He secretly goes out when they're having lunch and goes for a crafty cigarette. And it's like that, that I was quite charmed to his character, but the two of them, you just think they're going to be fighting throughout the whole movie, but they don't. And it's almost like a kind of instant switch where she kind of forgives him and likes him. But it's, that felt strange to me. And also there's a moment where there's a road accident. I don't want to go into detail because obviously it's a bit of a spoiler, but it's like she's almost not really realising what has happened and seems to be quite, I don't know, kind of mocking the situation a bit.
There is a road accident, and I do think there's a pivot in mortality, because the general premise of the movie is that now everyone is aware there's an afterlife. So it's just been demystified. It just happens. Everyone, when they die, there's an afterlife. And I feel like when that road accident happens, Rose is a bit like, well, it's okay, because they're not really dead. They've passed over to something else. Do you know what I mean? And so death has this it's quite flippant around how they look. I think how they perceive death, given this piece of knowledge, which is like, well, it's all right. Yeah, it's awful, but it's not the end. I don't know. I found some interesting plots, some interesting storylines. I liked the road movie component of it. They were playful with each other, bordering on chemistry. I wouldn't say like they sparked off each other massively on, but I thought it was good. It's interesting that both of those, so Katie Parker, who plays Rose, and Rahul Kholi, who plays Teddy, have both been in Mike Flanagan series, because they've both been in horror shows, right?
Yeah, he was in The Haunting of Bly Manor. He was really good in that. I didn't necessarily love the series.
He was in The House on Haunted Hill.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that they've got this connection. I think Karen Gillan's worked with the director Mali Elfman before. So I think there's a bit of playfulness with that, which I liked, because I feel like they all knew of each other in that kind of space. But yeah, I thought it was all right, actually. Some of the reviews that I read could have put people off. I mean, I'm generally, I'll read the reviews and go, I'm still going to watch them, so I'm going to make my own opinion. But I do feel like some of the reviews, people are a bit basic around things like, it's not a sci-fi.
Well, I definitely think it had that element, because I think some of the set pieces were quite atmospheric. I mean, to me, it kind of felt like Close Encounters, but with the UK indie vibe. It was giving me that atmosphere, you know, quite moody, quite downbeat. Because Close Encounters, you know, everyone raves about that film. It is great, but it's quite downbeat, isn't it? When you think about it,
I mean,
quite moody and
Richard
depressing.
Dreyfuss's character in that is on a journey, honey. Like, you know,
building
like
that
when
mashed
he
potato.
when he makes that mountain out of mashed potato,
I know.
Applause. It's quite skilled, you know. You know, I'm not as downbeat about this film as others have been. I would definitely recommend people to watch it.
Rahul Kholi, though, I mean, I really liked him in The Haunting of Bly Manor. Like I said, I didn't necessarily love the series. I mean, I liked the one before that Mike Flanagan did. Was that The Haunting of Hill Manor? That's it. I always forget what it's called because it's such a weird, long title. Yeah, that was really good, but not so much with this one. But he is great. I mean, they're both really good in their roles.
Yeah. I mean, The House on Haunted Hill's got that amazing scene, which I think is one take. They're in the church, or they're in the crematorium or the church, and the camera's just moving around them. It's quite incredible, really, that whole scene. So applause for that scene.
You're definitely moving to the dark side, Sean. I mentioned this on Twitter. You're watching more and more horror as the months roll on. So
everyone. No. I watched Nope.
So the verdict then for Boys on Film for Next Exit. I really wanted to like this more because there were elements of it that I liked. For me, it just didn't gel, though. I'm giving it 2 stars.
Ooh.
Yeah, harsh.
I'm going to give it 3 stars. Something worked for me. It didn't blow my socks off, but it was watchable, and I thought the idea was kind of bold. I thought it was quite ambitious. And how they took that story was in their own way. If you took that premise and gave it to another director, you might have ended up with a different outcome. But yeah, I actually thought it was all right. I mean, I'm not like you know, but I thought it was all right. I think 3 is a fair rating. You know, I'm a hard marker.
I think it's very fair, yeah, because your track record has, you know, there have been a lot of movies that you've given 1 stars recently.
And what I would say to the people watching this is,
because they're shit.
So yeah, 3 stars.
That's very fair. So it's Next Exit. It's available on digital download. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Sean is off to watch his next juicy, scary horror movie for the next review.
Sure thing.